you can, and Ms. Peggy is going to interpret, and then I will post the video on YouTube. Okay, so we're gonna look at the drawings and paintings of Vincent van Gogh. And I'm gonna ask you some questions, and I expect you to be able to answer in the chat. So, and let's do that quickly so that we can get some work time at the end of the slides. Okay, so we're gonna look at how he drew with ink because it's related to the way we're drawing with ink. And you might think when you look at this, oh, it looks a little bit like David Hockney, because David Hockney really loves Van Gogh. And so you can see him incorporating some things that Van Gogh did in his own artwork. And then we're doing that too. We're looking at Van Gogh and we're looking at Hockney, and we can incorporate their ideas into the way we draw. Okay, so Vincent van Gogh has a very interesting history. I'll tell you a little bit about it as we go. He started out as a minister. He was a Christian minister, and his first career was being a pastor, and he that didn't work out for him. So he was a pastor for like 10 years, and he had a career change, and he started being an artist when he was like 27. So the artist was a second career for him. And it was his last career because he only lived for like 10 more years. So he ended up not having a long life, and he was an artist for like 10 solid years. And when you look at his artwork, you can see him learning how to draw, just like you guys are learning how to draw. You're much earlier because you're not having a second career, you're in the first career training. And you can see that he is working on the same things in his early drawings that we work on, like wrapping things with cross contour and building up shadows with cross hatching. So he's learning how to draw, and he's making drawings. And a lot of his drawings are actually planning paintings or looking at composition. He is using a reed pen. I'm holding it up, it won't be in the video, but it's a bamboo pen. It's very primitive compared to what we have. It doesn't have an inkwell, it's just a bamboo cut into a sharp point. And they came from Japan, and during his lifetime, they started getting imports from Japan for the first time, and the artist went crazy for the art supplies. So you'll see him using this same pen, and you'll notice the whole drawing is just made with dots and dashes and lines, and we see that in his work. I'll show you the painting that came from this. So you can see him building up textures like we have learned how to do with the pen, shading dots, looking for the direction of like the plants. I like the each house has its own chimney going. This is also a painting, a plan for a very famous painting. And the painting is about the wheat blowing in the wind. And this is one of the symbols we see in Van Gogh, is this cypress tree. They grow in Italy and France and Spain, and they grow here very well. And he saw this as like a pathway to heaven, like a stairway to heaven. Remember, he's got religious ideas because he was a minister. So he starts relating to nature kind of in the way that he related to being a Christian. So he has a lot of Christian symbols in his artwork. I'm not trying to teach you religion, I'm just teaching you some of the background and motivation of the artist and the way he saw his own work. So Van Gogh also copied famous artists of his time. He learned how to draw by going to the museums and copying. And he was influenced by this artist called Millet. And this particular drawing is inspired by the artwork of the painter Millet, who painted farmers working in fields. And this guy is walking through the field and his arm is out because he's actually broadcasting seeds. So he has a bag of seeds and he would get a handful of seeds and throw them as far as he could, which is the origin of the term broadcast, like we use it now for radio and TV broadcast information. But broadcasting comes from throwing seeds into a field to grow wheat. And you can see the wheat in the background. But look at all the beautiful marks he makes to show the way that the field is plowed. Okay, and this is the last drawing, and he would often draw portraits. So you see him, there's a very famous painting made from this. So I think, you know, he would have like somebody come and sit for a drawing and then come back and sit for a painting. So he would often work out the compositions for his paintings by drawing and making sure he knew what was going to go on in the artwork. So far, what do you think of his drawing? What do you like about it, or what do you think of it? Could you give me a message in the chat, please? We got 25 kids in here. I'm looking for 25 answers. Okay, I love how he used little dots and dashes instead of long lines. Yep. And that's what we're gonna do when we copy him. Dots and dashes. They're so detailed. Yes. Beautiful. Come on, let's make this go fast. Let's answer in the chat, please. Don't let other people do your work. You do some work too. Villanueva, Bodison, Ramirez, Villegas, Mosqueda, thank you. It's only black and white, right? He's either using black ink or walnut ink, which is brown. I like the line details and how he's using the shadows. I like the details. I think it's cool. I like the lines. It's like cross-hatching. I like the tone of the paper. Yes, they've gotten old. The paper has turned color. I like the details and the shading. Okay, so this is something, if you like his style, you can research. You can research the way he drew. I love the way he drew, and I love the reed pen. So my drawings look a little bit like his I mean, I'm not Van Gogh. I like being in the same sentence with Van Gogh, though. I'm not Van Gogh, but I love this tool just like he loved this tool. So this tool doesn't make very many marks. So if you use this tool, you tend to look like Van Gogh too. And that's why we see Hockney looking like Van Gogh at times, because he's using the same tool also. You can get a reed pen at like Dick Blick for like $4. Or you can get like a 2-pack set from Amazon for like $8, shipped to your house if you have Amazon Prime. They're not expensive, and like you only need to buy one. Like it never wears out. It's just a sharp stick, but it's cut perfectly. Yeah, and it will work with the ink that I gave you. Okay, so now we're gonna look at some paintings. Those are good questions and good comments. Villanueva, interesting comment. She was saying the postmaster looks confused or somewhat intrigued by something. Yeah. You know, people were probably not used to like sitting for a portrait when they, this was probably a pretty exceptional thing to have somebody want to draw you. And then remember, the kind of people that ended up in paintings were like kings and queens and rich people. And Van Gogh is drawing the postmaster. Like, he's having the post office come and sit in his uniform. So Van Gogh is drawing like everyday people. And that was a change in artwork after the French Revolution. All of a sudden, the artists start drawing and painting common themes instead of fancy rich people. And artists might they might not be working for a rich person like a church or a king. They would just have their own art supplies and they got to pick what they wanted, and they wanted to draw what they knew, not fancy people. So there's a real change in content at the time when Van Gogh is alive. And some of it is driven by the camera, because the camera can now do portraits, so people don't have to make accurate portraits anymore. They start experimenting with painting style at this point. Right in Van Gogh's, the 10 years that he's working is when the camera explodes. Not explodes really, but blows up and becomes a big thing to get photography. Like the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s. Okay, so let's look at these paintings. I started with this one because this is very much like where we were at. We just drew an apple with color pencil and we learned how to layer the color. And here we see Van Gogh doing the same sort of thing in his painting, and you can see that this is more of a drawing than a painting, really. There's some color used, but there's a lot of drawing on the page. This is kind of where we're at with what we've just been doing with the color pencil. We're learning how to wrap the colors around an object, make them look 3D, and put a shadow on them. So we know how to do this. So I think Van Gogh, my interpretation of Van Gogh is he would prefer to paint outside and paint nature, but there's a lot of, even here in LA, there's just days you don't want to go out. You have rain or, bad weather, wind, whatever. It's just not a good day to paint. So we have him doing still lifes and portraits and interiors, probably on the days that it wasn't good to go out. I think he preferred to paint landscapes. That's just my, I don't have any evidence, but that's my take on it. So here we have him painting a still life of all of his things at a table. We have like a bottle, a pipe with tobacco, a letter, a book, matches, candle, a water jug, and some growing onions. I've got some growing onions at home too. Okay, so here's his still life. If we were going to update this, what would be on your desk right now? What do you have sitting on your desk right now that we could swap out the things? You might have a book, you might have some mail, you might have some, art supplies. Damien, do you have a candle on your desk? Food. I've got a cup of coffee, a lamp, electric lamp. A book doesn't look too good. Some of these things don't. Leftover bottles. I've actually got a bottle of hand sanitizer, homemade with aloe vera gel. I've got a phone. And keys. Small backpack. So in this assignment, you could go two ways. You could either just outright a Baby Yoda. Maxwell, I have a good Yoda collection too. I always have a Yoda on my desk. They keep me company. A little tub of CDs. Okay, so when we look at something with like Van Gogh, the easiest way to deal with this, if you pick this one as a painting to copy, you could just outright copy this. You could just draw it again, and you could try to match the colors and match the brush strokes. Okay, but the more difficult path, which is an option you don't have to take, is you could look at this still life and you could swap out everything in the still life for modern things, but keep the Van Gogh style. So you could take this and you could say, I'm gonna get rid of the candle and put in a lamp, and I'm gonna get rid of the matches and put in a Yoda, okay? And I'm gonna get rid of the growing onions and put in Hot Pockets. Okay, so you could like update the whole thing if you want. And of course, none of you are drinking wine for breakfast, so you could update that too with something you would drink, like a can of bubbly or something. Okay, so that's an option. You can either copy the Van Gogh, or you can replace things and make it more modern, make it more Los Angeles. Like, what would happen if Van Gogh ate some tacos and a bottle of Peñafiel with a little plate of limes on the side? Oh, I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry, people. Okay, so what I want you to do is really look at how he's mixing his colors. You may have to mix them with color pencil. And also how he's pulling his marks. How long are the marks? And what direction do they go in? So when we look at this shoe, you can see he is wrapping the cross contour of the shoe. This is almost a completely yellow and blue painting. It's indigo blue and yellow. And you can see him wrapping the cross contour line, and he's changing colors every direction to make the shoe wrap around and look like you can stick your foot right into that shoe. His shoe still lifes are fantastic, and there's many of them. If you want to look them up on the internet, there's like a dozen of them. One thing is you have to make sure that you're finding real Van Goghs and not student copies or artist copies or artist interpretation. Like like I gave you that you can interpret. You have to make sure that you're getting real Van Gogh. This one is very famous, the work boots. And you can see he's doing a lot of little brush strokes to make the boots look crinkly. And again, here we have a pair of black boots, but he's using mostly green and red to make them look round. So there's several themes that he has. One of them is the sunflowers. These are dried sunflower heads. You can see some of the seeds have been picked out, maybe by the birds, maybe by the farmer, maybe by Van Gogh himself eating some seeds. And it's a theme he likes. Here's more sunflower heads. They grow sunflowers in the south of France. We grow them here in California too. And here's the sunflower bouquets there's two of these paintings. So these paintings are kind of unique because Van Gogh painted them for his own apartment. So he painted these. We know a lot about Van Gogh because he wrote a lot of letters telling people about his everyday life. He was very close to his brother, and his brother supported him. So he would write regular letters to his brother. You can actually buy them in a paperback book, all the letters. And here's the second sunflower painting. I think it was this one sold, maybe 20 years ago, or maybe even longer. It sold for $53 million. And nobody had ever seen a painting sell for that much. It was a world record for a painting sale, and it kind of changed Van Gogh in importance, but it also changed the art world because then people started paying huge amounts of money to own paintings, important paintings. I used to think, man, I would buy 53 houses in a row on the beach instead of one painting. What would you buy with $53 million? Would you buy this or something else? Put in the chat, what would you buy? Something else. Oh, you'd buy a piece of art. Something else you're saving up. Yeah, save it. I think I would buy property. I would buy property, beach property. A professional chef to make you food. Well, you could get a lot more than that. Much nicer house than my duplex. I mean, if I had that much money, I'd probably have everything else I could want. I was thinking the same as you. Yeah, so, you know, a person can dream. Sometimes when you dream about what you would do with a lot of money, some of the things you would do are free and you can just do them. Right? Like if you think, oh, I'd buy my mom a house, well, you might not be able to buy her a house, but you could make her breakfast and give her a hug, right? Okay, so I think Van Gogh really liked to get outside, and there's hundreds of paintings of him painting outside. And he's what we call a really great colorist. He mixes really subtle colors. So he's almost always working in the same style with the dots and dashes. But the reason I have you looking at him with a color pencil is you're gonna have to mix color pencil colors. You're not gonna be able to do it with just the plain box. You're gonna have to layer up colors to match his colors. So that's what I want you to be thinking about. And I can tell this one is painted on a brown cardboard. You could, if you want, you can use the brown paper, and then the white pencil will work on the brown paper. You can see the white. So you want to look at how some places you won't press as hard to make lighter colors, or you'll mix white. We're gonna try to match the color scheme. And then he does this other great thing, which is he really activates the painting by making everything flow like water flowing. So this is wheat, right? I don't know, that might be water, but even the sky is flowing. Everything looks like it's moving. So you wanna follow the direction of his marks, and don't just scribble, like really try to copy it. I like that sign for a scribble, Miss Peggy. Yeah, it's a good sign. Don't scribble. So you'll see, like on this painting, this is actually, it looks like a river, but it's a road. You can see people walking, and you can see a horse cart coming down it. And then he's looking at the direction, and then he's inventing a way to make the sky feel like it's windy. So you want to follow his direction and see what it feels like to move the way he's moving. This is what will really teach you about how to get into his head. So let's look at this painting. What are the colors here? What are the colors he's using? Salmon walls, brown and yellow. What are the other major colors? Teal. Red. There's this color in old oil paint colors is viridian green. We now have a synthetic one called phthalo green, but it didn't exist in his time. So what do you think this painting's about? What is the content of the painting? What's it about? What do you see in there? Where is it? A pool room. There's a pool table. What else is in there? A restaurant or a bar. I see a lot of bottles in the background. There's another really important thing that you guys aren't seeing that I see. Look at the top half of the painting. What's the top half of the painting filled with? Lights. Lights. I think this painting is about electric light coming to the bar when it used to have only oil lights, where they had candles and oil lamps. Electricity is new. I think this is about, wow, look at the bar with lights on inside. We got electric lights now. They got electricity to their town. In a lot of paintings of this time, you can see the world changing. You can also see the beginning of global warming. All of a sudden, we have light bulbs, and light bulbs are exciting. The lights are three-dimensional. Yeah, they stand out. I think Van Gogh was super excited about the way the world looked when light bulbs lit up the night. So I don't know if you know about Van Gogh. He did cut off a piece of his ear. And this is where all the drama went down at this particular pool hall. He had like a breakup, and he was sad. He went home and cut off a piece of his ear and sent the piece of the ear to the girlfriend. Just a little piece, like the earlobe, the part you pierce. Yeah. He sent it to her in a handkerchief. Then they checked him into a mental hospital. Poor guy. It was not a good time for him. Not advocating it. It's just part of his story. So I think on the days he couldn't get out, he painted some pretty beautiful and solid still lifes. And you'll see he has certain colors. He loves yellow. The paintings are really saturated in yellow. And he loves that red, green, yellow combo. And this one is red, blue, green, yellow. You can see the blue light highlighting the chair. Some of it is just the colors that were available to him. So they were the colors he could get. So everybody in France was probably painting with the same paint sets. And those were the colors that were available in their place and in their time. Like in Germany, people were painting with different colors at this time, and it was like where they could get their pigments, their color pigments. Something that got invented during like Van Gogh's lifetime was the paint tube, because before this time people had to make their own paint, and then in the like 1860s somebody made lead tubes for paint. It's part of the Industrial Revolution that they were able to put paint into a tube and go outside and paint, because before that they had to make the paint in the studio and they didn't have a way to drag it all outside. Okay, so whatever painting you choose, you're going to try to get the spirit of Van Gogh. I wanted you to see, this is a letter written with the reed pen. He's writing to his brother, and he's making a little sketch to describe what he's doing. And this is why we knew so much about him, is because he regularly wrote about his life and art. So if he interests you as a person, you can, obviously he's one of the most popular artists that's ever lived, so it's easy to find information about him. And he, like straight from the horse's mouth, he wrote what he was thinking into letters that people saved, so we have a lot of document that talk about Van Gogh. Okay, I don't think he's the only great artist, and but I think he's perfect for us right now. Okay, so now we have to discuss what you're gonna do. You're gonna find a painting. You know, I have this slideshow. It's there. You can copy any of these paintings from my PowerPoint, but you can also do some research. So you can go ahead and Google Van Gogh and make sure that you're finding real Van Goghs and not copies or interpretations. Make sure it's from like a museum. All of his paintings are in museums now. There's not going to be like, there's very few private houses that own something like that. And if they do, they probably don't have it on the internet because they don't want it to get stolen. Okay, so Sebastian, could you summarize what you think we're doing in the next assignment? Miss Peggy, can you stop the QuickTime?